right, guys. Hey, Paul McClain here. Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. Excited that you joined this morning. Thank you for plugging in each and every week, and I hope this serves you well. Today, I got a very special guest, President of Family First Life, Sean Mike.
How you doing, Paul?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you, bro. And the first part, aphorisms, which I didn't even be honest with everybody. We came up with these. You have these sayings, man, like that.
Which I thought were just sayings. I didn't know they had a terminology.
I was trying to make sure that we look educated. Yeah, just sometimes I gotta come up with something that makes me feel more educated.
Is that Victorville High School education?
Exactly. Yeah. So I looked it up, and aphorisms was what made the most sense. So okay. we did it last time. This is part 2, and man, I mean it. Like, these are some of the sayings that I still go back to whenever I'm kind of like feeling a certain way, that I can it helps me almost suppress the way I feel. Renews my mind and helps me put my feet forward so I can continue to behave like I should to hit the goals I want to hit. And I've embodied this in this business, and even with my kids and everything else, man, my wife, like I've taken these, and it's part of who I am. One of the ones that I think we ran out of time last, and I want to jump right into it. You said this in the beginning, which was move fast. It was a move fast and break things.
Correct.
Which to me was massive because of I think everybody has an inherent ability just to want to procrastinate or engage in distracted behavior. I know it's easy for me to do, especially being self-employed. I think this is probably one of the biggest things, Sean, because I do believe most people that mess up being self-employed is they sit and they just procrastinate and they think too much and they wait to feel a certain way to do. And this kind of helps just squash that, man, and kind of puts it aside. So kind of talk about that, man. Move fast, break things.
Well, I think everybody, when they start a business, needs to adopt it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who go, well, I don't need to adopt it. Well, I didn't have any money. I wasn't given anything. I wasn't crawling into this trying to make the best play with a bunch of capital. I think when you're an independent contractor, which is what we are, and you launch a company, everybody's watching this today launched a company at some point in time. It's your company. Whether you did it today, a week ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago with us. Maybe you did it 20 years ago and you've been with us for 5 years. You launched a company. And what paralyzes most people is fear and overthinking things. They're fearful, usually fear of being judged or failing or, whatever. And then what they do is, instead of continuing to take more action, they stop and start thinking, because then they're not failing. So if I'm thinking, I'm not failing. And it's like, dude, I want to bust everything up. And, and I wanted to break a bunch of stuff. They don't do it anymore, but when you play football, they don't do kickoff anymore because they don't want anybody to get concussions, which I'm good. I don't want anybody to get concussions either. I wish they thought about this 25 years ago. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, hey, you need a wedge buster. So somebody's got to run down the field, because that's how everybody used to do it back in the day. The block as a wedge, guys run behind them, and you would just have to throw your body into that. And I was like, dude, I'm totally down with that, because that's my best asset, is the disregard for my body, right? And you just throw yourself into it. And one of my buddies asked one day, it's like, dude, why do you keep doing that? And I was like, because that's what the team needs me to do, bro. You're 6'5", and you run a 4.5 40. What do you want me to tell you?
Right.
And you can dunk a basketball like you could do it when you were in 7th grade. I'm doing what I can do, to be part of the team. And at the end of the day, I think for everybody, once you start moving and you're willing to go out there and learn from your mistakes, because making them, it's move fast, break things, but, make sure we learn. And I think if you're willing to do that, you speed everything up. I've seen that in business from so many people. And I've seen very talented people do nothing because they're literally just so paralyzed by fear. And every time they bump their toe, they stop. And I'm like, why don't you just keep going? You bumped it. Okay, fine. You hurt it. You broke it. You sprained it. Let's just keep going. And I think that for us, if we had not adopted that in December of 2013, I don't think we'd be here. And I think, you and I would talk, and it's not that you didn't bring up valid points, you did, but those things didn't matter at that time. We would get to them eventually. Right now, we're trying to survive. The things you do when you're trying to survive are different than you do in the future. And a lot of us are in that survival mode right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I try to live in it no matter what. I feel like I'm in that every day, because I want more people to get integrity, partnership. I want more families to be protected. I want more agents to be saved. I want all of that to happen. You know what I mean? And I think that also when you're moving fast, you tend not to be as emotional. If you sit around and think a lot, people are like, did you hear what these people say? Let me be clear, dude. When you help as many families as we do, and you're 12, 15, 17 times bigger than your alleged competition, they're going to cry. It's human behavior. It's what they do. They're going to hate you. It's what they do. They're going to do this. And that's all it is. I used to coach, when I was coach basketball, I'd say to somebody, one of the kids' parents said to me one day, great player, and the dad's like all upset. He's like, man, they're relentless on my son and on yours. And I was like, what do you mean? Who's they? He's like, the fans. I'm like, well, first of all, there's like 250 people in here. I really wouldn't call it the fans. I mean, like, they're 14. But you do know that the two of them score most of the points, and people hate winners when they're competing against them. You do understand that. I said, you could be the parent of the kid that never scores. Nobody yells at him. Why don't you just see if you can trade children, I guess. Like, the guy was like complaining about it. Like, he couldn't believe that they were like, they're so mean. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like, they're building their character right now, dude. Everything they're going through right now is building character. When they're in the free throw line and parents, listen, my rule was as long as a parent didn't come on a court and then he get near my kid, they could say whatever they wanted. Yeah. And I taught him early on, why I don't care. Did you hear what they said? I'm like, I don't care what they said. Why do you care? How do you even hear them? What does it matter? And, for me, it's one of those things where you have to be willing to teach people that. And I think that a lot of us are so, we look and every move we're going to make, and it's like we need 3 people to validate it, and then we need to read a book, and then we need to call somebody, and then we need our life coach, and it's like, dude, our business coach, and then our mentor, and our best friend, and our neighbor. And then my buddy used to do this back in the day. Let me call my mom. Let me call my dad. Like, dude, enough. Yep. Like, enough. Why don't you just go do it and then figure it out after the fact? I mean, listen, it's not like we're working on the space shuttle. That would not be a good model for NASA. Move fast and break things. That would be bad, okay? Yeah. But as an independent contractor in life insurance sales, that, I don't want to hurt your feelings, doesn't require a high level of anything. It's just work, and doesn't mean, I don't know, will you be good, will you not? I'll let you go figure it out. But also, wouldn't you want to figure out faster if you're willing to overcome those things and if you're going to enjoy it than slower? Like, why would you want to have a very slow, painful process? I wouldn't. So that's how I describe our aphorism. Dude, move fast and break things.
I remember you saying, tuck your ears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is, dude, like my 14-year-old Peyton, she plays soccer, and dude, the girls are nasty too, man. Like the stuff they say and like what they say, and like they'll whisper in your ear when they're like, I'm like, she's like, yeah, Dad, this girl said this, and I remember kind of teaching her that concept, hearing from you, like just tuck your ears, and so I think that's a big deal when somebody can just kind of drown out all the things that they're hearing from others, but also from their own self. Like if you're listening to yourself, it's typically probably bad, and if you're talking to yourself with clarity and with intention, then it's probably going to be good if you're speaking to yourself in the way that's going to lead you the right way. And so I think that's a big deal, man. When you look at like the emotion, and when you sit there and you're not moving, you usually will get overwhelmed with the way you feel and the emotion behind it. Sean, I've heard you say, like, you can't have faith and fear, right? You can't have both at the same time.
Correct.
How does somebody like get past the fear and then start being moved more by faith? What is something they can do?
Well, I'm a big, like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And when you get somebody to try to verbalize that, like you're staring at your leads. Well, I like being on the phone. Okay, well, explain to me, please, for the love of God, what's the worst thing that can happen if you dial the phone? And then say nothing. I think a lot of us talk, ask questions, and then when we ask a good question, like an uncomfortable one or one that requires a response that they don't, we have to say something else again. Like we just have to. We just can't help ourselves. It's like, dude, why don't you just let them answer the question, right? So for me, it's like you can only pick one or the other. And that seems pretty black and white. And I'm not going to preach to anybody. I know what I believe and faith I have. But if it says you shouldn't fear anything but, like, Lord, what are you afraid of? What am I afraid of you for? What would I be afraid of Casey for? What would I be afraid of anybody's thought process, what they're going to do, what they're not going to do? And I do believe you can proceed in life with an absence of fear. And I do think that, and I'm not being dramatic, I get it. I don't want you to walk out in front of a moving bus and see if it's going to hurt if it hits you. I mean, come on. But what I'm talking about is Fear is paralyzing. And why live if you're going to be paralyzed the entire time about what everybody does or doesn't think, and what did they say, what didn't they say? And, you know, it's like we just a big annual convention. Somebody said to me, what's the difference between speaking in front of 14,000 people and speaking in front of 14? I said, there is no difference, because the 14 have no right to judge you. Neither do the 14,000. They have none. Now, if you want me to spin it in your favor, with 14,000 people, you're not going to pick out the 4 people that aren't interested. But if there's 14 there and 4 of them are like on their phone the entire time, it might annoy you. You still have to proceed like it doesn't annoy you. I used to pick them out and then challenge them, which was not good, and I would do it in probably not the best way. You know what I mean? Because I was frustrated that they weren't taking their situation seriously. Then I had to learn, like, dude, they have the right to not take their situation seriously. Like, who am I? I'm now judging them. I don't want to be judged. Why? Who am I? If they're disruptive, I can have them leave. But if they're not disruptive and they're only hurting themselves, what do I care? And not that I don't care. It's not my right. It's not my job to judge them. So I think you got to pick one. And again, if you just go, I'm going to be fearful, okay? But I have a hard time with, and I love y'all, but I have a hard time with all these people that go like, I believe this, I believe that, and you know they're in and out of church every day on Sunday, and they get there early on Saturday, and stay late on Sunday, and they have the coffee and the donuts, and then they're afraid of everything, or they're judgmental. I'm just like, I'm not qualified to be a pastor. What do they talk about at your church? Like, don't they empower you and get you to proceed without fear? Like, why are they not doing that? I don't get it. And so I think that you have to make that decision in life, and you certainly sure as heck got to make it in business. And I think, you know, to your point with your kids, it's one of those things where what you want to do as a parent, Paul, innately, is find out the father of each one of these girls that says mean things to your girls and go over and confront them. That's at least that's what I want to do. Yeah. Where's your dad? Where's your grandpa? Where's your uncle? Like, let me talk to them, which obviously you can't do all the time. I get it, blah, blah. But you'd teach them nothing if you did that. You'd literally teach them, not, and I've made that mistake. You can do too much. And then I'm like, well, I didn't let them weather that storm. Like, why didn't I let them weather that storm? Like, why would I not let them? I remember my son, this lady, she was nonstop. It was a really big gym, and she would run on the court, run. And she'd be like in the corner, like my son was 50 feet from her. And she'd be like, you need to cover that mother. She'd be cussing that mother. And she'd give his number. And it went to, like, she wasn't going to hurt nobody. She was just really mad. She thought her son was going to play in the NBA. Now, I could have notified her that he was not. I watched him play. Okay. I also could have notified her that my son wasn't going to play in the NBA either. We're all going to be fine. And while my son was not going to play in the NBA, he was 5 times better than her son, and she thought her son was good. Okay. And she would not stop screaming. And finally, one of the mothers, and it wasn't even Trevor's mother, was like, hey, are you going to do something about them? I'm like, do what? She's on the court. That's the ref job. She's not impeding play. If she was impeding play, I'd deal with the ref. My son doesn't care. And the only one she's yelling at is him. And then if he's being yelled at, that means his teammates aren't being yelled at. He don't care, so it's having zero impact on him. It might have an impact on somebody else. Why would I want her to stop? And I think it's life is you're gonna deal with that stuff in life. Like, you're going to deal with it. And I don't understand why we are so worried about what everybody else, because our fear typically comes from other people fueling it. Their opinions, their judgment, they're scared that if you have success, because what is somebody's biggest fear when you become independent, if they're friends with you? That you're going to leave them behind. And that's normal. I've been telling everybody, my kids who I work with, take one hand, and you won't need all the fingers to count the amount of people in your life that pull for you if it doesn't benefit them. I think there's plenty of people that pull for you when it benefits them, but it doesn't benefit them in any way, shape, and or form. They're your buddy who is not going to get anything if you do or don't do well. They just care about you and love you for who you are. And even if you're 10 times more successful, then they're going to love you, and they're going to be your biggest fan and biggest cheerleader. That's not how most people are. And I wish they were. I do believe I'm that way. I have friends of mine that have done, and I'm so happy for them. Friends of mine did really well when I was young, and I learned from them, and I was like, I want to live that way. And it was more the time. I want to have more time. I wanted to buy time like them. So, Paul, it's simple. You got to pick one. So when people are fearful, I'm like, just don't stop talking about your faith. Well, I have faith. No, you don't. No, because that's kind of like a blind trust saying, I know it's going to be okay, regardless. They don't have the right to do these things. I'm doing the best that I can. It doesn't mean life's perfect, but just don't have both for me. If you want to go, I have no faith. That's why I'm terrified of everything. Got it. I have no faith. That's why every time somebody has an opinion, I listen to it. I have no faith. That's why when people, that's why I always get, people get mad. Like, they're so mad. Like, Ron Miller called me the other day. So-and-so said this. And I'm like, I know, dude. Like, and I love Ron because he's a kid. It makes me so upset. And I said, Ron, could you imagine being them? They have to watch our success.
Question, dude.
They have to watch our success. Could you imagine being them? Like, I guess I didn't think about it that way. I'm gonna start thinking about trying to be them, because that's gonna be a hell of a lot harder.
Just so good, man. As you're talking, I'm thinking, Sean, like in my the seasons of my business, whether it was on the phone, sitting with clients for the first time, hiring my first staff, working with my first agents, recruiting, all these things. And when I felt fearful, in those moments, I almost remember like different people that were speaking negativity, whether that was a family member, an aunt, or somebody just saying, like, what are you doing? Like, is that even a real business, or is that even this or that? But in those moments where I was stuck, not moving, and I was thinking about it, I was thinking about really just a negative outlook on what I haven't even yet done. And when I was invigorated, man, like enthusiastic, empowered to go out and take action, I'd be thinking about stuff that I had heard from calls and podcasts. It was stuff that I had consumed that was really breeding life, that would give me a positive outlook on what I had not yet done, whether that was booking appointments or staff, and just the right perspective, man. And I think that's why it's so important. Dom said it on the last podcast we did when he's like, man, I would listen to Sean's podcast over and over and over again. And man, I think that most people I talk to that do well pretty quickly, they just work without getting into the weeds as far as their emotions and how they feel. And they also, man, they're nonstop listening to calls and podcasts and training. And I think that what that does is, man, it just continues to feed their faith and it starves the fear. Because the moment you pull away the faith, man, like, I mean, I'm not going to preach, but like the enemy is real and he's going to attack, steal, kill, and destroy. That's his agenda.
Amen.
It's almost like, dude, think about this. You said this. You said clients are not in the other room coming up with new objections. They're the same. So if we can understand the client's behavior, who we are, what to come back and say when they say something, we're good. And I think, man, the devil's the same way. He doesn't come up with a new agenda. It's nothing tricky or crafty, man. It's still kill, destroy. And he does it with division, distortion, delusion, discouragement. And that's a lot of times it's fed and surrounded by fear. And so, man, you starve that. And I think that the thing that most of you guys on here today that you need to do, right? Everybody has that, man. There's something I know I need to do. The thing you need to do, it's probably just what's lacking of you doing it is just having the right perspective and outlook that it's going to happen, and just have faith, not the fear of all these things you talked about, man, which is so good, man. I mean, this is great stuff. So I want to get into one more real quick. This is something that everybody's seen on the shirts. We all wear them. I wear them to the gym. The humble and hungry. And dude, this is, I mean, you could definitely spend 30, 45 minutes talking about this. We'll spend maybe 5, 10, but this has been such a big part of the company. If somebody said explain like the DNA of Family First Life, that might be the first thing that pops into my head personally, would be, man, it's humble and hungry. And you've done such a good job, man, putting that into the company. And I'm proud to work with Family First Life because of that. And I mean that, man. I'm really proud to say I work with FFL because it is a company of humility and a company that's hungry. And, I know just from being in this business 14 years now, I can't pretend like I worked for all the companies, but it just seems to me that once somebody attains a level of success, that they never really reach significance because it becomes all about them. And if they used to have humility, they let humility get sold at the price of them feeling so good and special, and the ego is bred. And dude, you've helped, I think, every single person, every integrity partner within FFL. I don't know if our response would have been the same way when we got that, that deal and the check and all the benefits that come with integrity, if you didn't first embody that. You've never let haughtiness, dude, or ego really kind of come into the company, because we watch you and you've never exemplified that. And dude, that's a big freaking deal. I mean, it really is. And it's something I think about quite a bit. And it helps me keep that level of just humility, because we're not special, but it's easy to think you are, man, especially when you know, whether that's financial, whatever things come in that can kind of, you know, get you to believe that lie. But talk about that, man. Humble and hungry. You know, what is that? What does that aphorism mean?
You know, when I was young, I never was that way. Only because I did feel like I was less than, didn't have the things that other kids had, didn't have some of the family unit. It was just things I just was uncomfortable about, you know. So anything I was good at, I told you I was good, and I told you I was better than I was, and I was obnoxious, you know. And I can remember after a number of years in high school and college where I just realized that people enjoyed winning, but nobody really liked. Like, I didn't have any real connections, you know. It was one of the things I said to some people. I was giving these analogies and asking, like, what do you do when you did this? You scored a touchdown. You hit up, like, I don't know. And I just, like, hand the ball to ref. I was like, man, I told everybody how good I was. Screamed, yelled, kicked stuff, you know, went after the other team. And so I know exactly what it's like to do it the wrong way. None of that was – I also know that when people are egotistical, it's just because they have low self-image. I really actually don't believe in the fact that they're overconfident. I think that they're masking inadequacies in themselves. I was. Good. I just don't think it's true. I think for some of the people you say, I'm perfectly fine being calm. I'm confident. I'm confident in what I do. I'm confident in why I do it. I'm confident in I know I'm an imperfect person. Believe me, I know I am. But I think I watched I did listen to a lot of people that had run companies, and when they'd taken a bad turn, 9 out of 10 times when people would explain to me why, they'd say it was ego. Mm-hmm. Purely ego. Best way I had it put to me was a guy said, we ran out of credit. And I thought he meant borrowing money, which was weird because they were doing very well. He said, we had too many guys that wanted all the credit, and nobody cared about anything other than look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's scary for me. Like I think if you go, well, you know, I really want to work at the company because, you know, it's funny because we did the convention. And, you know, listen, people. A couple people are like, where's the VIP entrance? And my response was, who are the VIPs? I want to know who are the VIPs, bro? And like, well, you know what I mean? I go, no, I actually don't. I mean, you're asking me, and you called me because you called my number, and I'm on the cell phone, and you're asking me who are the VIPs? I didn't know who showed up. I'm just wondering, like, did the NFL halftime show up early? A Snoop here and Eminem, because we'll get them in early. We'll find an entrance for them, and they can come in. Like, they're in. They're totally in. But like us, like the work at FFL, I don't know, bro, I've been here since 6:30, so my VIP entrance was there was nobody here when I came in. And I think that I don't know what that means, and I don't never like that very important person. What do you mean? What about the rest of us? What does that mean? I have no problem if you say that's the green section. People paid more to sit in those seats. Cool. You know, you're at an event. I have no problem with you saying that's the owner's box. He or she invites who they. That's fine. But the VIP, doesn't that assume the rest of us aren't important? Weird that that's still a thing, to be honest with you, but whatever. So for me, you know, I knew that I didn't want to act like I was a teenager, you know, when I got into business and became an adult. And also, listen, if this required some kind of innate ability, you want to tell people you're good, that's fine. I mean, by all means, do that. There are things that we'll, you know, talk about and joke about, and that's fine because it requires some kind of ability. But doing this, it requires hard work and a good attitude. And so I think, Paul, there was no way I was going to let ego harm us at all. And I think and some of the people that are, again, they're doing it to mask the things they don't like and the inadequacies they feel, so they overcompensate for it here. I'm a complete train wreck, but I'm not trying to overcompensate and act like I'm better than I'm not better than anybody. So, you know what I mean? I'm a human being like everybody else. And nobody's better than me either. So that very much goes both ways. I am not a better human being than you. You're not a better human being than me. We're all human beings. You know, you might be able to say to people would say to me, who do you think you are when you start, trying to do well? Not to your face, right? I'm like, I just want more out of life than you. for my family, for people around me, for charities. I want more out of it than you. I want to ride this thing harder than you do. I'm not better than you. So that's just what I want. I'm not going to apologize for wanting more either, ever. I'm never going to apologize that give it more and want more for everybody else, and I want to see it. So I think for me, Paul, every time the light shined on you, the people that run the best organizations here, when the light shined on them, they shined on somebody else immediately. Like some of the people, like Dave Wichard. When Dave Wichard was started, everybody was enamored by a lot of, man, he works hard. He does, and all those things are true. He did that. That wasn't what was the most impressive to me. Every time you gave him a compliment, he turned it and complimented somebody else. He never took the credit. You'd be like, man, you guys had a great week. He'd be like, you need this and this. Did you meet Ron and Eric? And he just would never stop doing it. And I was like, dude, that's why he's going to do well. I was talking to Andrew one day. He's like, man, I said, dude, watch him. You're excited about his work ethic, and I'm happy. He's got a good work ethic. And you're excited about his attitude. He's got a great attitude. But he doesn't take credit for anything. And there's other people that are like a black hole of credit. You can't give them enough credit. Yep. You know, we joked this year annual convention, like we were like not going to put the agenda out and see how many people called to say, am I talking? And, you know, I like the ones that called and said, hey, I'd like to advocate for 3 or 4 people on my team. That was pretty cool. But the ones that, you know, well, am I speaking? And you want to know why it's not growing as fast as you want it to grow. It's not about you, bud.
It's good.
It's just not. So I think we're always going to hold on to that and be starving. Every day I wake up humble and hungry. Like, because if it's about what you can do for yourself, it's easy to slow down. But if it's about what you can do for others, there's no finish line. You'll do that till the day you die as best you can, and you'll hopefully have made a great impact on a lot of people, and hopefully they'll remember you for that.
That's great, man. Well, the one thing, Sean, I know that that I've always seen in you is when we hit something, you're always finding another thing to kind of stretch and grow. You know, whether that was road to integrity meetings and then the staff meetings and then the road to Hall of Fame. There's always something that it's like stretching and pursuing and getting after. For anybody on here, like what's something that they can do? Because when you said, I just want more out of life, you know, is there something that somebody can do to help birth or put fuel to that fire desire to want more out of life and to build that desire to be more, you know, I guess hungrier and each day?
You know, I guess it's perspective, right? How many days are you going to be here? Years, months, whatever. And I always go back to this, Paul. You know, at your 80th birthday or your funeral, whichever. You know, what are the 3 things you want people to say about you? And you know, we're blessed with what we're blessed with. What I would, to answer your question, do some things for other people and see how it feels. I have more people this year. Like, man, I started donating last year. First year in my life, I gave money away. Like anything considerably. Like they're like, I'd buy, you know, Girl Scout cookies or put this in a jar at the store. But like I literally went out of my way to make a difference. And I donated $3,000 to Make-A-Wish or $4,000 Dream Center or $7,000 to my local church or to the food bank, whatever it was. And that's what we're supposed to be doing when we're blessed. Amen. And what I would challenge you to do is start doing that because, dude, I'll be honest with you. I have an addictive personality. Okay, I've been sober, no drugs and alcohol now it'll be 22 years in September. I've never been more addicted to anything than I am giving back and helping other people do that. It's call it an addiction, call it a passion, call it whatever you want, you know. But it's like all I keep thinking about is what else can we do to better, you know, people's situations.
That's good, man. You know, it's almost like I think we'll wrap up with this, man. Like a lot of times the struggle that somebody's dealing with, whether it's a pain, whether it was addiction, alcohol, things like that, if it's actually the gift that God's given you, you just got to take it back from the enemy that's using it against you and use it for good. And that's when you said that, man. That's kind of what I thought about. Like, you know, it was the very thing that was messing you up and holding you back from what God had put in the lives that you were going to change. You've changed my life. You've changed. I think everybody watching this can say, man, you've had a big impact on their life, and you took back and you put it into serving others and making a difference in others. And I think everybody on here, you have that. Whatever you might be going through or struggling with or whatever, if you can channel that and use it somewhere else, it might be that much better. It's like Penelope, man. She's dude, she's the one that just gets triggered, bro. She freaking just snaps. You know, she's
I can relate.
She's 6 now.
I can relate.
Yeah. Dude,
I still do it, yeah.
The other day, bro, like she lost it, and I was like, babe, like, where's Penelope at? We got to go to school. I was taking the kids to school, and And dude, she had like she was throwing such a fit, man. Like it was one of those fits where you tear your clothes off. She was like butt naked and we were trying to go to school. She's like, she's losing it, man. And like what I've been really doing my best to is like, man, trying to get her to re-see that passion and energy and that amount of emotion there, that when she packages it, I think God's going to use it for something that's going to be massive and great. To us, talking to Tosh, she's like, I don't know how to deal with it. It's emotionally draining, it's like, and I said, I think this is one of her gifts, like as much as it seems like it's not. Like she's going to use this in a way, and our job is to help like champion that, like help shift that and shape that to where it needs to be. And I think there's somebody on here, maybe because I know I've got a bunch of issues and dysfunctions of not feeling I'm good enough and all these different things that I've been able to use to help speak life into others, because I went from being self-absorbed and being so messed up, thinking that I'm not good enough, always trying to show out and show myself, that I've been able to start to shift that into a way where I can speak life and help others see the value that they've got. And I just think it was beautiful, man. It was a great thing. Phenomenal podcast. So, Sean, thank you again, bro.
Thank you, bro.
I love you, man.
Let me have get
guys,
on here, man.
And by the way, and we said $1,000 now, right?
$1,000, $250 for 4 people.
So comment below, $250, 4 people. So Casey does a great job at the end of this.
Yeah, Casey,
where he pushes
good work,
a button.
man. Thank you, Casey. Don't ever forget that. Can you see Casey? Can you put the camera on you, Casey? Put the camera on you, Casey. You need to get a little love right there. Look at, there's the man that makes it all happen. Casey's in charge of everything.
He is a freaking beast.
Without Casey, we have nothing. So
that's exactly right. And so, hey, guys, comment below, like, subscribe, and share this. I think that everybody inherently wants to make a difference and impact on somebody else. And sometimes just sharing something that was, helpful for you, it might make a difference for them. So share it, like, subscribe. And, guys, thank you for joining. Make it a massive week. Be strong. Stay steadfast. Take care. Bye-bye.
What is going on, guys? We are giving away not $250, not $500, not $750, but $1,000 worth of leads. Right now, 4 lucky people are gonna win $250 worth of leads each right here, right now. We're gonna pick 4 names and it's gonna be incredible. If you commented on this video last week with Michael Sandman, you are automatically entered to win free leads. So, let's see who our 4 winners are. First winner is Steve Abrams, 59-year-old, inspired by a 20-year-old. That is right. Let's pick another winner. Christopher Lowen. This is awesome. Winner number 3. Danny Marie Serban. Such an inspirational story. And winner number 4. Heather Holcomb. Awesome, I'm glad I watched this. Congratulations, you 4. You just won $250 of lead credit each. And we're gonna be doing this every single week, guys. You heard it from Sean. We're gonna be giving away $1,000 worth of leads every single week. So, if you didn't win this time, leave a comment. You're 4 times more likely to win every single week now that we're doing 4 drawings instead of just 1. So we'll see you next time, guys. Winners, please get in contact with Victoria. Her number is going to be right down here. We'll see you next week. Leave a comment. We'll see you soon.